Hey everyone, this is Mike Griffith. It's about 12:02 p.m. Just turned February 2nd, 2018. I am a meteorologist and I'm going to be here to talk to you about the long range discussion and what we can expect at least over the next 384 hours or so. As far out as this ensemble goes, this is the GEFS ensemble. This is the average of a bunch of runs of the GFS model. This is better in the long range because it shows a more level headed picture of what we can expect overall as a trend compared to a single model, which is going to not be too accurate and is going to vary from run to run. Let me switch over to 12Z because 12Z typically carries more sounding information and more computer model data is fed into the 12Z and the 0Z soundings than it is the 18Z soundings and the 06Z soundings. Those soundings are just intermediate runs and don't have as much data uh, or data, depending on where you come from, ingested into those. So right here, we're looking at Friday. Here comes a nice little cool shot of air behind the departing cold front as it skates offshore and takes all the rain and even some wintry precipitation with it. We're looking at some rain changing to snow in the mountains of North Carolina tonight, Thursday into Friday here, and also up into Western Virginia and West Virginia, and even up into the mountains of Pennsylvania. Very quick event. It's not going to last at all. It's going to be gone. Cooler air moves in for Friday and for Saturday, but then temperatures kind of quickly rebound as we go into the weekend, as all the coldest air up here is locked up in around the Hudson Bay in northern Canada. Now, this is not signifying cold air. This is just low heights. This is a 500 millibar height anomaly right here. And what this is, it's overall pressure patterns and tendencies in the atmosphere. It's not temperature, but this is low pressure. And you can think of this as storminess. You can kind of think of it as below normal temperatures, but you're not looking at cold air here. You're looking at something else. You're looking at scientific atmospheric data is what you're looking at here as far as pressure patterns go. Really, the pattern really flattens out as we go into Sunday the 4th. So any winter storm that comes up the East Coast here really is going to have a hard time with no real blocking over Greenland. You want a block up here, and it's wide open, so anything that comes up the East Coast is going to be able to escape. So we're not expecting a huge event here on the 4th, which is Sunday, and into Monday, because there's just not enough blocking up there to keep the storm wrapping in cold air behind it. So the coldest air up there and the storminess stays all the way up in northern Canada. Looks like a little bit of warm flow here across California and the desert southwest and the Four Corners. They start to warm up a little bit there into Texas as we go into Monday of next week. Could be some more backdoor cold fronts across the northeast there, New England, as we go into Monday and Tuesday of next week. And then some ridging tries to take hold across the eastern part of the Carolinas and the East Coast here, down into Florida. It looks like this air mass starts to moderate into the 6th or so. Taking it forward here a few steps into the future, it looks like a trough and some kind of winter storm tries to take shape over the northern plains, most likely Tuesday or Wednesday next week, the 6th into the 7th of February. And then that system might just affect the northeast, really. It's not really digging deep enough into the south for us to be cold down here. Not expecting a whole lot of cold through the 8th of February with no blocking here up over Greenland and over northern Canada. You want to have the red over here. It's in the wrong spot. It's allowing all the winter storms to escape out to sea, and they don't linger for too long. They just move away, and it kind of warms up behind them, especially here in the southeast. Here comes a little energy. Here comes some low pressure, some lower heights, and some storminess and some colder air down from the Hudson Bay here around the 9th into the 10th or so. This is seasonable for this time of year. Might even be a little bit above average. But what we're watching here is a ridge across western Canada up into Alaska, California. Now, when this ridge starts to build here on the 10th and the 11th, what we can expect is a chunk of colder air below normal temperatures and storminess here is going to descend into the east around the 10th or so into the 11th. And the models are really all over the place. You can tell because the average run has the orange all the way up into New England and Pennsylvania, and even all the way up into the Dakotas. So the ensembles are going to be confused as to how much this trough is going to dig into the east. But I can tell you right now, if you want to put yourself a step ahead of the models, look at the ridge here in the western part of the United States, and in turn, there has to be some kind of balance here in the east part of the United States. It's just physics. And it looks like it could be a little bit colder than average as we go into 10th, 11th, 12th. There could be some winter storms, could just be cold air. The ridge here starts to build a little bit in the western part of the United States, and this cold air stays over the Hudson Bay, but it looks like it kind of goes back up into there and stays locked up there into Valentine's Day, as a ridge is going to start taking shape over the west coast here. And it could actually be a strong enough ridge across the western part of the United States and Canada that it could affect the southeast part of the United States. So as we go into the 14th and 15th, it looks like spring could start to make a return very slowly, and that's not totally unheard of for this time of year, but it will be above average. And that's what we're going to have to take away from all this, is the fact that it will be above average as we go into Valentine's Day and then into the middle of this month. What happens before then is more than likely going to be below normal with that trough that I showed you in the east. Let's take a look at some other factors here for the long range. Now, as we look at the Madden-Julian oscillation, or the MJO, the GEFS ensembles here, all I want you to do is take a good look at the green lines right here as we go into phase 6 and 7 right here. Now, phase 6 is warm, but as it goes into phase 7 here, it tries to make a little bit of a turn backwards instead of going to phases 8 and 1. And to me, that tells me that we're not going to be going into phases 8 and 1, but rather we might be cycling back through the warm phases once again. And that would mean that the winter storm chances start to go down after the middle of February. This diagram right here is valid until the 15th of February, and that's about the end point of this model forecast right here. All this is a phase diagram. Don't get too confused on all this, but just know that this is the warm sector over here, the warm phases, and the cold phases are over here. And this is the model projection, the bright green lines right here, going from 6, which is the last warm phase, into the first phase of the cold. But then the model kind of gets confused. It doesn't know which way to go. It doesn't know whether to go into phase 8. It doesn't know whether to loop back around and go into phase 6. But a lot of these are confused, so we're not going to say with confidence that it's going to be very cold at all up until the 15th of February or so. Let's take a look at some analogs. Analogs are a good way to see what's going to happen for the rest of the month of February at least. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the EPO index. I want you to focus on this square right here with this graph. And as we can see into the beginning in the first week of February here, we can expect negative values with the EPO index, and that would be favorable for cold across much of the eastern part of the United States. And then it looks like as we go into Valentine's Day, it tends to go back towards a neutral state. And when it goes back into a neutral state, it does have impacts of what we see here as far as temperatures in the eastern part of the United States. And I can bring that over here to you right now. And we're looking at February right now as a whole, and it looks like it's only just slightly below average here in the Northeast for the month of February. This is for the entire month of February, and it looks like it's pretty much seasonable across the rest of the Southeast here, including much of the lower plains and the Texas and all that. It's just looking like it's very seasonable February coming up here, and nothing really to write home about. And if the EPO does kind of stay into its neutral state, we can expect a colder March than average here. There are some winter storms that can come through from the 1st into the 15th or so of March, but after that, the sun starts coming up in the higher sun angles in the sky, and it starts getting rid of that. So if we can keep a neutral EPO into March, then that would be good. But for now, we were showing you it's looking like it's going to be a neutral EPO, and this is just showing pretty much seasonable neutral conditions across much of the Southeast here, a little bit below normal into the Northeast. So an average month of February is what we can expect just based off of the EPO alone and all by itself. And I wanted to show you one more thing here. So as far as the precipitation anomalies go expected for February, we're expecting a neutral EPO. And what that means for across the southeast is we're not going to see really a big end to the drought. There's going to be some cold fronts coming through. There are going to be some dry cold frontal passages, only drop maybe a quick shower or so. But otherwise, we're looking at February being a bit below normal here on the moisture side and the precipitation side, and a little bit above average out here in the Ohio River Valley, out into the Mississippi River along there, and even up into Seattle. They're expecting a little bit of rainier and wet conditions there as we go into the rest of February. Again, this could be a little bit above average temperatures down here in the southeast once we hit the 14th or 15th or so, and then things look like they're going to dry up at least through the middle to the end of February for the southeast. That's where it stands right now with the long range forecast. I want to thank you a lot for viewing. Make sure you go to our website, eastcoastwx.com. Look at all the goodies. Keep up with the blog. We're trying to put more stuff on the website there. It's good stuff. We're going to try to make sure that you like and subscribe to this video below. Like and subscribe to this channel. We need at least 1,000 subscribers in order to be able to prosper here on YouTube. And make sure you go watch our other videos too. Other weather videos. We're going to start putting up a lot of new weather videos here in the coming days and the coming weeks, so make sure you frequent this channel. I am meteorologist Mike Griffith, and I thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a great time.